Welcome once again to another episode of the Red Delta Project podcast, where we teach you how to maximize your results with minimalist approaches to diet and exercise, like healthy eating strategies and, of course, grind-style calisthenics. My name is Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project, author of the books Fitness Independence, Smart Bodyweight Training, and today we are discussing a very crucially important aspect to all of fitness, but particularly when it comes to healthy eating. And that aspect is the great, wonderful, powerful benefit of emotional eating. And I phrase it that way on purpose because it's meant to kind of make the needle scratch a little bit in your mind, where it's like, what do you mean benefits? Like everywhere around us, we're told, don't emotionally eat. And I'm an emotional eater. That's why I'm wolfing down a pounder bag of M&Ms every time I get stressed out a little bit at work. And then we think, I need to be an unemotional eater. Well, the thing is, not only is that completely impossible, but it's entirely backwards from what you want to be doing. It's that whole saying where they say things like, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference or apathy. And doing anything without an emotional focus to it is not going to produce anything. And most importantly, it's not going to leave you in control of being able to get a good result or avoid anything that's detrimental. And here's why. It's because we as human beings have three levels to every aspect of our actions and decisions. We have an emotional level, where what we feel about a circumstance is our foundation. Then we have the intellectual level, where we think with logical thought on what we do and how we do it. And then, of course, we have the physical level, which is usually the production of those actions. And these layers are present in every choice we make. Your decision, for example, to watch or listen, if you're on a podcast, listening to it on audio, followed these steps. You may have seen the title or you may have seen the thumbnail I created or whatever, and it triggered an emotional reaction in you, something that made you feel a certain way. And then mentally you had to think, how do I listen to this? What buttons do I push on my smartphone? Or when do I want to listen to this when it's entirety? Maybe you plan to listen to this on your drive home from work or something. So there was an intellectual component. Of course, there's the physical, which is me filling your eardrums with my melodious voice right now. So this happens for all our decisions, good and bad. And the important thing is to recognize it's present not only in detrimental eating habits, but also beneficial eating habits, which is why the person making a seemingly healthy choice is just as much an emotional eater as someone who's making a disastrous or unemotional choice. It's both emotional. The difference is the emotional eater who's making the poor choice is doing it from a negative emotional foundation, which leads to negative thoughts process, which leads them to negative physiological behaviors. But the person making a good choice is doing from a positive emotional foundation. And this echoes a lot of the research that's being found, especially when it comes to very extreme examples of particularly obesity out there. If you ever watch like these reality TV shows, I don't even know if they're on anymore. I've probably watched the last TV show I actually watched was like 4 years ago. But every time they're trying to make a big transformation, when someone's trying to lose weight, they inevitably always get down to things on an emotional level. No one ever goes on to these shows and is like, so this is what you call a treadmill. I had no idea. This is exercise and it can burn Wow, what a revelation. I never heard of this. This is called fruits and vegetables? Gee, of course not. They're not doing anything they didn't know. They know all of this stuff probably better than anyone else. It's part of that whole logic dominant mindset I've talked about, where people who often struggle to make an engagement and action happen are often logic dominant individuals, where they learn everything in the world thinking that if they can just learn the right thing, that's going to be the secret or the thing that's going to make the results finally happen. But unfortunately, they're not addressing that emotional foundation. And for good reason, because a lot of times we're not addressing it because it's really scary. It's terrifying to look at the inner world of our feelings and our emotions. And a lot of it may be so suppressed, we're not even aware of it. We're not even aware of our own feelings, which is very common. It happens to everybody, happens to me plenty of times, which is why I'm always saying when you're lacking the motivation to do something, It's not because you're not watching enough Fitspiration on Instagram or you don't have the right workout program. There's something emotional that's going on in there. There's an emotional toll or cost associated with taking the action. And as far as your balance is concerned, emotionally, you're feeling like it's not going to be worth whatever the result may be. But the flip side can also be true, where if you're fired up to do something, there's an emotional benefit there to the cost that is inevitably there, and then you want to take action. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is partially to expose the reality of emotional eating and say, look, it's going to be emotional. I'm very much an emotional eater. Every choice I'm making is made off of an emotional foundation. Same with everybody on the planet, and same with every choice we all make. But getting honest and real about those emotional feelings about things is so important, which is why in my world as a personal trainer, one of the biggest questions that I'm continuously starting to ask my clients is, how do you feel about that? A little bit, psychologists sit on the couch here and stuff. But the answer I get to that question is vastly more important than any other question I could possibly ask. Like, what kind of exercise do you do? Because if I tell somebody, here's what I want to do for changing your program, changing your diet or whatnot, and I sense a little hesitation, like, okay, all right, I'll make it. It's like, okay, let's explore that a little bit. Why do you feel the hesitation there? What is going on inside? Because if that internal world of emotion is hidden and suppressed, it's going to run your life in the same direction it's always run. And there's not a damn thing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can learn. There's nothing you can physically do. There's nothing that you can buy or some seminar or book. All of that, it's like firing BBs at trying to derail a freight train. There's no way, because that emotional foundation is more like massive. It's huge. It's like the whole iceberg analogy. It's millions and millions of pounds of weight that's within you right now. And all of the things you think and the things you're doing are just weighing a few grams as far as the weight of your actual decision. So there's a lot of ways you can self-psychiatrist this stuff. Journaling, for example, is really important. Sometimes just getting your thoughts out there. Talking with someone who has a result that you want to achieve and asking that question, like, all right, so how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? There's something that you're having trouble with. Like, I just can't seem to not eat until I get so full I feel like I'm sick. Why are you doing this? Because when we have an extreme detrimental result, something we can't seem to stop ourselves from doing, it doesn't matter if it makes us feel like crap. It doesn't matter if we feel bad about ourselves afterwards. There's still a much more powerful emotional drive that's forcing us to do it. So the emotional content, as Bruce Lee always says, behind our choices are really where we need to look at. Because if we don't know what those are, the thoughts that we feel are largely inconsequential. The actions you take largely don't matter. The knowledge you learn doesn't really have anything to do with it. Like my new book, Grind Style Calisthenics, very powerful formula for using bodyweight training to build muscle. I mean, in the past month I've been getting tons of great feedback. I've been feeling great myself. But if you have an emotional aversion to exercise, or any sort of exertion like that, I could give you the best workout program, inject you full of steroids, give you the best diet in the world, chain you to a chair and force feed you. It's still going to do almost nothing for your ability to build muscle. But if we can get down into that aversion, like, why don't you like exercise? Oh, I got picked on in gym class and I hate gym class and I made fun of the jocks. And you start getting into those layers. If you can even resolve those a little bit, suddenly I'm like, all right, I'm going to lock you into McDonald's. You've got no exercise equipment and you have to eat nothing but fast food. You're going to get great results, because our emotional foundation is really what's in charge of how we think and therefore what we do. And if we're blind to it, we don't stand a chance. But if we can harness that power, the results we want and the obstacles in our way, they don't stand a chance. So I know this isn't the usual content you're used to hearing, especially on YouTube. It's like, just tell me how to do the damn push-ups, Matt. Like, what do I do with my arms? How should I work out smarter and stuff? And that all is good, that's great, but that's like 1% of what actually matters, I'm starting to realize. What's your carbohydrate to macronutrient ratio and stuff? You know, to be perfectly honest, it probably doesn't matter. As I alluded to in a previous video where there's a lot of this paralysis by analysis, you got a lot of debate going back and forth. A lot of the stuff out there, in all honesty, just doesn't matter. It's really not that important. But that emotional foundation you're coming from, that's 90% of it right there. And if you can get into that and you can dial that in to be in more alignment with the results that you want, you will be unstoppable. You will be getting results so much faster. The effort or the actions that you're struggling to take will be almost effortless. I'm not saying there's not going to be challenge, of course. It's always challenging for me to get a PR in my pull-ups. But when I come to those pull-ups, like, yeah, I'm stoked. I love doing pull-ups. That PR is many times more likely to happen than if you came to it and you're like, all right, let's get this over with. God, I hate these workouts. These suck. It's not a chance in hell. So how we emotionally relate to things is far more important than I used to think. And it's what's steering the bus. So going into your week here, ask yourself, how do I feel about X, Y, and Z? Why do I feel these things? And you're going to have a lot of judgment about this stuff. You're going to want to beat yourself up, especially when it comes to negative stuff. Like, why can't you keep your hands out of the cookie jar? Because I'm weak and I have no willpower and I'm miserable and I'm a loser and stuff. Hey man, I've done that many times myself and will continue to do so from time to time. I'm sure of it. But if we can analyze and assess the emotional foundation behind what we're doing, what we think about things will change and our actions will be night and day difference, and so will be your results. Okay, I'm done talking. Check out the videos here for more information on this. Subscribe here if you like these kinds of things, and if you did like this video, hit that big thumbs up. I deeply appreciate your attention here. If you have comments and questions, leave those down below and I'll get to them shortly as well. Talk to you next week. Till then, be fit, live free.